Okay. So I have Matthew with me. He's one of the middle children. I wanted to talk to him specifically about an interview on this countdown. I give you kind of a little bit of perspective of how the family dynamics were, at least from his perspective. And so I have a few questions I'm going to ask him and just see what happens and go with it. My first question has to do with just the fact that you are a middle child, and but you kind of threw back at me that you're not exactly the middle child, and why is that?
Because I'm exactly the most middle and the least middle child possible. When you have 7 kids, you've got obviously 4 is the middle. But the thing about it is I'm also the oldest of a set of 3 boys and a girl. So when it came to playing together, the older ones would do things that were more, what older children did, and I would do things that were very irresponsible and violent. And so,
No.
yeah, no, it's true. So, but the thing about it is kids will imitate what they see. And I'm not saying you guys are violent. I just want to throw that out there. I'm saying whenever we would do things together as kids growing up, we would watch, the different movies. And I loved action. I was an outdoor kind of guy. Whenever we would watch Power Rangers or things like that, then we're always imitating it. So me and Nathan and John Mark are all... We're excellent martial artists, but yeah,
In your own imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. We hang out a lot. Rebecca was princess of the group, but also wanted to play with us. But we had to be careful because then she would be injured, and that wasn't good. So,
So, what would you say your role in the family was? If they're, if you say, I had a role, I had a place, a spot, I did this.
Yeast rolls were definitely my thing. I liked cinnamon rolls too, but probably the yeast rolls were my favorite part. No, I mean, it would be sort of as an oldest child in some ways. Luke is so much older than I am, and he was always into scholastic type of things. And I shared his love of history. He and I would talk for hours, just recapping essentially what he learned in history, which was really fun. I look back fondly on that for most of my life. I really appreciate it. As far as like how I function in the family, I was separated from Luke by 2 girls, and they hung together mostly. I had a lot of interest overlapping with Rachel as well. She would read me stories back before I could read. I was slow to classically because I wanted to be outside, and there's conflict of interest in my own brain. But then eventually she got me hooked on stories and reading, and it worked. So
yeah. So you said in earlier, I think, sort of you were the leader of the pack of the younger ones, and
trouble buddies.
Trouble buddies, buddies,
Yes.
buddies. I heard bunnies at first. We had a brief interruption.
Family emergency.
Family emergency, meaning the dog
was stupid.
It was being stupid. So we're going to fade back into it. So how you found your place to fit into the family and all. How did that shape your personality, your job choices, life choices, any of that?
I am a pastor. I'm an assistant pastor at my church. Leadership came naturally from being the oldest of the middle. I'm also middle child, which tends to be more conflict adverse, which definitely, that's actually the part of leadership that I find the most challenging is when conflict starts to happen, my brain just goes, whoop. So,
some people cope by being negotiated. Are you a good negotiator? No. Okay, so okay. So that's part of that conflict of how to be a negotiator.
How do you negotiate when your brain turns off?
Yeah,
exactly.
You just have to reframe it, I guess.
Which is what I do when I'm successful.
Okay.
Which is not always.
Okay. So now I feel like middle children all need to have parents apologize to them for the fact that they get neglected sometimes, shuffled in the middle. And also, I've definitely apologized to you. It is one of those things, but how do you find your voice?
I always felt a little bit overshadowed by both Luke and Rachel's intellect, right? And then Ruth's just general gregariousness, likability. She's just a social butterfly. I was not I was like in that middle between kind of introverted, kind of extroverted, but I was also a geek, and there was a community for that. But as far as it would have been easy to feel left out and like I couldn't do anything, and there was temptation towards that, and I think everybody faces that. But I think it's stronger for middle kids. There was always the knowledge that I had a skill that outside of even the appreciation from my family, because some people are just like, oh, I just need to affirm my child in everything that they do, and that's actually counterproductive because they can pick up on when they're only hearing it from their family, and that's not enough. There needs to be something that they develop that they're good at and they become independently good at. And for me, that was singing. When I was 4, I learned to be able to sing by ear. When I heard a melody, I could then repeat that melody, and then the next time through, I could make a harmony for it. It would be floating between tenor and alto, right? But it was a harmony.
Yeah.
And I developed that skill, and I always had that to fall back on. Even when I was like depressed, there was something like, I know that outside of anything that could be subjective, I have this. I'm good at this. This is something that I can do. And it was kind of a lifeline or a magic feather to me sometimes, but it was enough. And I think most children need to develop something, and their parents should encourage them to develop something which they're actually good at. Instead of one of the problems with parenting is often that the parents will pick something that they are good at and then make their children bad.
Yeah, the dad that always wants their son to be a football player or a baseball player or something like that. And they may be good, and then again, they may not, or be forced into something they don't really like.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with
true.
Jordan Peterson that a young man needs to feel competent in something.
Yeah, and we have enjoyed your music a lot in our family. Brenda calls him our songbird, and he definitely sings all day long. Anybody that's around him. And it kind of surprises me too that you have not developed that outside. I think you could be very good in, well, I mean, not that you could be, you are good.
I suffer from / enjoy ADH squirrel, which is what I usually call ADHD. Hypercreatives often struggle with that, where attention, which is going everywhere, and it allows you to see things from different angles, which gives you perspectives that are unique, and people enjoy that aspect of it. But that also means that you lose attention quickly and you find other things that you want to do more. So for me, I really enjoy creating art, but if it were to become something where I have to do it.
Yeah.
If it's something where I have to put out this, whether it be writing, I enjoy writing, I enjoy singing, I enjoy putting together things. But if I have to do it, it's not going to happen. I'm going to be very unhappy doing it. I may eventually cause myself to slave to do that, but then I lose the joy of doing it. I don't want to do that with the things I love. I will gladly do that with, manual tasks and things like that. I'll turn that into my vocation, but I don't want to do that with things that I love.